AM 970, The Answer in New York City. Nationally syndicated talk radio host Mike Gallagher says he's backing the Republican candidate, Curtis Sliwa.
I don't think the numbers favor Curtis in any way, shape, or form. The numbers didn't favor Donald Trump in 2016 either. Hillary had a 93% chance of winning the election. So you go in as an American, you go in as a New Yorker, and you vote your principles, you vote your convictions, and you let God sort it out. But you move heaven and earth to vote for the guy who you know would be a better mayor than Andrew Cuomo, and that's Curtis Sliwa. That's Mr. Law and Order.
Sliwa, the founder of the Guardian Angels crime prevention organization, is currently running third in the polls as the November 4th election approaches. As expected, former FBI Director James Comey has pleaded not guilty to lying to Congress 5 years ago as he appeared in court today. Eric Trump, the president's son, says James Comey is guilty of a number of things, including leaking material to the press.
It's not crime fighting. That's using a massive agency to otherwise, target political opponents.
More medical concerns for Colorado football coach Deion Sanders. We get more from correspondent Bill Alexander.
Sanders is undergoing a procedure that's related to his blood clots, with the hope of being back at practice and on the sideline this weekend against Iowa State. The surgery is called aspiration thrombectomy. Sanders said it will take several hours. The 58-year-old gave the medical update at the end of his weekly news conference, saying he can't wait to get past this hurdle. He added it's hereditary and has nothing to do with him working at the level he's trying to compete at. I'm Bill Alexander.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gallagher, host of The Mike Gallagher Show. I don't mess around when it comes to saving you money. Right now, rates have dropped to the lowest level in over a year and a half. That means if you bought your home or refinanced in the last 3 years, you could be saving hundreds of dollars every month. Lower your rate, lower your monthly payment, even kick that pesky PMI to the curb. And get this, you can skip 2 full months of mortgage payments. But that's not all. Fellowship Home Loans just rolled out something incredible. Their very own HELOC and lines of credit. Approval in just 5 minutes. Money in your account in as little as 4 days. It's the easiest system you've ever used. You do it yourself online. Whether you want to pay off bills, tackle a home project, cover education, or even a wedding, Fellowship Home Loans makes it simple to leverage the money that's already sitting in your house. Just go to fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, fellowshiphomeloans.com/Mike G, or call 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-MIKE, 800-510-6453. Fellowship Home Loans, mortgage lending guided by the book.
Nationwide Mortgage Bankers, DBA Fellowship Home Loans, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS number 819382.
Rich Thomason reports commercial building owners are looking for a new way to keep employees cool during the dog days of summer.
They're turning to ice batteries for air conditioning. It's a technology that freezes water into ice at night when electricity is cheaper and then lets it thaw during the day to cool indoor spaces. Experts say it reduces emissions and strain on the grid and lowers electricity demand. With rising electricity costs and growing energy demands, especially from data centers, ice thermal energy storage gaining attention as a sustainable and cost-effective solution for air conditioning. Rich Thomason, Washington.
Authorities have arrested a 29-year-old man for igniting the January fire that destroyed Los Angeles' Pacific Palisades neighborhood. Authorities arrested 29-year-old Jonathan Rindernecht for lighting the fire on New Year's Day. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Ever thought you might like to drive a Tesla but couldn't afford the price tag? Well, lower prices and lower-priced Teslas are hitting those showroom floors now.
In an attempt to boost slumping sales, Tesla is selling the new Model Y for just under $40,000 with a stripped-down interior. There's also a cheaper version of the Model 3 for under $37,000. Tesla's faced anti-Elon Musk boycotts and competition from foreign electric vehicle makers. The reaction from the stock market after the news broke suggests the new models are not expected to help. Edmunds analyst Ivan Drury says investors were looking for something truly different, not an iteration of an old product. I'm Ed Donahue.
Joan B. Kennedy, the former wife of Senator Ted Kennedy, who endured a troubled marriage marked by family tragedies and her husband's infidelities, has passed away. She died today at the age of 89. You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Bob Agnew.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Re-Federalist Radio. where we take a look at current events through an original intent of the Constitution lens. I am your co-host Brady, also known as a war hamster in some crazy corners of the internet, and joining me today, back from a long road trip, my good friend, constitutional mentor, Mr. Constitution himself, Douglas V. Gibbs.
Thanks for having me as always. And long road trip. I had to miss a few things, but we're back in the saddle.
Yep, and hopefully we should be getting regularly scheduled shows back like we used to and get you some regular content. Before we jump in, just want to thank all those listening on America Matters Radio, 93.7 KPGF, AM 1060, and all of you listening on the affiliate networks and stations, especially ZakiRadio.com. Well, as the theme of this show has always been, we're looking at current events and applying it to, looking at it from a Constitution lens and basically from the original intent of the Constitution. There's a story that's been, a couple of big influencers have touched on this in the last few days, but they haven't approached it from the constitutional angle. So I just want to give you the highlights, and then I'll flip it over to Doug about halfway through to see what he thinks about it. So with no further ado, I am going to share my screen. And
for those of you not on the radio, those of you who are watching at ZakiRadio.com.
Thank you. Yeah, I always get the radio doesn't have the picture. So what we're looking at here is a Department of Justice FARA registration. FARA is the Foreign Agent Registration Act. And why do we have FARA, Doug?
The Foreign Registration, say it again.
Foreign Agent Registration Act, FARA. Basically what we're saying it is other governments can't talk or advertise or try to influence our people unless they register with our government first so they can keep an eye on what they're doing.
Okay. 1938, is that what it says?
Well, that's just, the Act of 1938 with the pursuant to the Foreign Agents Registration Act.
When it came into being.
Yes. So it starts there. Who's the name of the registrant? In fact, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for the screen so everyone can see it, those who are watching video. The name of the registrant is the Show Faith by Works, LLC. Okay. So it's, right away you're thinking religion. Mm-hmm. It's registered in San Diego, California. And the name of the foreign principal is Israel, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Okay, so you start having an idea of, what do you think they're going to be talking about? So we'll just scroll down because they're going to tell us. And, look, do we think foreign governments should be, buying influence in America, advertising, what have you?
Not necessarily, but at the same time, I understand the desire that if there's going to be a foreign voice in America, we should know about it. And there's a registry, it looks like, for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, they got about $3 million or about $3.4 million to get started. There's a lot more than this very long document. It's an 88-page document, but describe fully the nature and method of performance of the above indicated agreement or understanding. What they're saying is, okay, well, let's just see what they say they're going to do. This is a Christian outreach through various grassroots and digital targeting of Christians in the Western U.S. We will create a mobile museum to display at churches, Christian colleges, and Christian events. We will target and distribute pro-Israel information online and through targeted geofencing and digital online tools. We will have teams of people reaching out to churches and pastors and possibly even Christian social media influencers. Some of this is still undecided and fluid, but these are the outlets we have planned and proposed. Any thoughts on that?
I think it sounds like a noble enterprise. As a Christian, I fully support Israel, even when they're disobedient to God. And I recognize the importance of, as a country, that we support Israel and as Christians. Unfortunately, we're seeing in today's day and age a lot of anti-Semitism, replacement theology ideas, things like that, which definitely puts me into a condition of unhappiness. And something like this, I think, would be a good thing. But I'm wondering if such an event would be seen as a threat to certain parts of our system.
Well, yeah, to be fair, we already know that the pro-Hamas movement is very well funded by all kinds of entities, George Soros, et cetera. So it's basically tit for tat. So I'm not even going to get into that. The part that got me was through the targeted geofencing and digital online tools. I've got an issue with that. Basically, every time you go into church with your cell phone on, they are tracking you. They're using that tracking information to basically, they'll try to send you more information, more of their propaganda. I don't care if you're pro-Israel or pro-Hamas. I think that's an invasion of privacy. Now, the Fourth Amendment tells us the government can't do that, even though they do. But do we have anything in the Constitution, Doug, that keeps private entities from just stealing your information like that? And should we?
Not necessarily. And not that I'm condoning it, but this is pretty normal fare nowadays. I mean, and I'm going to use this example because it is such a good one. My wife and I were in the car. My phone was not off, but the screen was dark. It's sitting there, and we mentioned how in the near future we would love to take a trip to Italy and Israel. Suddenly, when I'm checking my email later, I'm getting Mediterranean cruise ads. So people don't realize the algorithms, how they're paying attention. Now, they're claiming that it's fine because they're not paying attention. No individual is surveilling you or surveilling the conversation. It's just a computer algorithm that picks up on certain words.
Yeah, I had a funny one happen to me the other day. I was putting something into my calendar, and it pre-populated. I'd been talking on the phone or on a Zoom call, actually, and the meeting was going to be for 3:00, and the calendar automatically populated at 3:00, which that's never happened before. So that was a new one for me.
Yeah, and as AI advances, as the algorithms and blockchain technology and all these different technologies that are on the rise pop up, it's going to get more interesting.
Well, I personally think it's an invasion of privacy, and it shouldn't be allowed. Whether we can put the genie back in a bottle is a different story.
Right.
But this is a little insidious that they're really imposing on churchgoers. That's my problem with it. You start looking through these lists of all these churches in Arizona, Colorado, Nevada, Texas. We'll get a whole bunch in California too. They got a really big target. Then they're basically going after, trying to push the pro-Israel Christian message, which, as Doug said, there is a divide in the Christian churches about that right now, for the obvious reasons.
Right.
Their own denominations, Independent, Southern Baptist. I mean, they're trying to hit the whole gamut.
Well, and from a marketing point of view, this seems reasonable. And, I agree with what they're trying to work to do, but does that make it right? And what doors does it open? I think that's really your concern.
We come up on a break in the next minute, or I don't have my timer on right now. Or do we blow past it already?
We're at it.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll see everyone on the other side of the break.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I don't know anything about jewelry at all. I don't know anything about diamonds. I need to get something for my lady.
Well, you know what, Jim? Come on in. We are your local jeweler, and we want to be your personal shopper. For 27 years, we know that we are doing business directly with the right manufacturers. We have negotiated great prices. They have the right trend, the right designs, quality, from earrings to pendants to you name it, we've got it.
That means you're going to help me from beginning to end.
My family, we've been working for this for a long time. I don't know how to change oil or anything, but I know diamonds. I know jewelry. So if you want to come in, you don't have to worry about anything. We'll find the exact gift that you're looking for that's going to make you look like $1 million, that you really took the time and effort to choose something, not just say, I'll take this. Your lady will know that you took the time and found a beautiful gift for her.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
At Northern Nevada Family Dental, we are proud to announce a wide range of advanced dental services by way of the Photona Lightwalker laser. The Lightwalker laser can efficiently and effectively treat most periodontal problems, from deep persistent pocketing to peri-implantitis and a multitude of conditions in between. Have cold sores? We can inhibit the cycle of the virus and sometimes even prevent them from occurring. Do you have a snoring or CPAP problem? Through the amazing healing power of light, we can treat tissues inside the mouth without anesthesia, appliances, or cutting, so that after just one treatment, most people sleep better and quieter that same night. By using the power of the laser intraorally, we can also smooth facial wrinkles and tighten sagging necklines, all without you having to be numb, and there's no downtime. It can even be done on a lunch break. Through the FDA-approved Power of Light, these treatments and many more are now available at Northern Nevada Family Dental in Sparks. Have I piqued your interest? Give us a call at 626-7772 or visit us at northernnevadafamilydental.com.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back from the break. Let's get the screen back up there real quick. And I just wanted to hit a couple more points on that and move on to the main topic of today's show. If we can get that up there. They talk about what their messages are. What are they trying to communicate? And I've got that right here. They say their activities to combat low American evangelical Christian approval of the nation of Israel. They want to use biblical arguments to highlight the importance of Israel and the Jewish people. Skipping down, they want to increase awareness of Palestinian ties to Hamas and support for terrorism within evangelical populations and counter new and evolving pro-Palestinian messaging.
They want to support?
No, they're trying to. Yeah, they're trying to. Sorry, did I say no? They're trying to increase the awareness of Palestinian ties to Hamas and their support for terrorism.
Okay.
The one last little thing that I found that just worth looking at. We're going to be working on social media, visiting Christian colleges, but they have digital support. The largest geofencing and Christian targeting campaign in history. There's a reason people are up in arms about this, because that does sound like a little bit of encroachment. But that being said, we're not here to fight a holy war. So we'll take that off the screen. But I thought it was a point. The constitutional question is why I brought it up.
Yeah. And again, the Fourth Amendment applies to the federal government. There is similar language in each of the state constitutions. So the state constitutions, the states have their own Fourth Amendment. And for those of you who are not familiar with the Fourth Amendment, that's the illegal search and seizure, all of that jazz. And warrants for searches, and information. Gathering information without your knowledge by government would be a violation of that. So the question is it a violation if a private company is doing it? Now, American law requires that you give your permission. You sign some type of consent, or you click. I'm okay with you sending me notifications and knowing what the heck I'm looking at, and so on and so forth. Some of these companies, by using the companies, that consent is built in. It'll say right there when you sign up, then your terms of service. Their terms of service. By using our service, you are consenting to. Most people, 90% of people, don't read that. And they may or may not realize it. Most people are not bothered by it. But that doesn't mean that is not, what's the word?
Nefarious.
Nefarious, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's really my point, Doug, is by walking into your church, are you signing an agreement to the terms of service that you're going to get geofenced and tracked?
Right, exactly.
I think it's an absolute invasion of privacy. And whether you agree with the cause or not, it's a tactic that I've got the issue with. Okay. Next topic today.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander and vice versa.
Yeah, well, yeah. Like I said, I'd like better privacy laws altogether, but this one appears to be a breach. And that does have some people up in arms about it. So that story is not done at all, because there's a lot of money behind that effort. And again, the other side, the pro-Hamas side is doing the exact same thing all across college campuses. It's, Okay, so Supreme Court always starts their new session the first Monday of October, which just happened to be this week. And we got a full slate of very important cases coming through. The big one that Doug it's really pretty much his forte, as if there's anything else, is the birthright citizenship case. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up screen.
I've been talking about a long time.
Yes. Well, tell them about your natural born citizenship lawsuit while I'm getting this up on screen.
Yeah, matter of fact, when Kamala Harris was picked as vice presidential candidate, December 7th, 2020, we actually planned to do it the previous September, but there are all kinds of obstacles that we had to jump through and it took a while. December 7th, 2020, the Constitution Association filed a lawsuit against Kamala Harris for not being eligible for the office of President of the United States. Natural born citizen, in short, requires you to have both parents citizens at the time of your birth. There are half a dozen dicta by chief justices of the Supreme Court that supports that. There is the Vattel's Law of Nations that supports that. And there's the Immigration and Naturalization Act of 1790. The language in it supports that, in addition to many other sources. And in my very first book, way back in 2014, before all of that, 25 Myths of the United States Constitution, I have a whole chapter about it as well, because of a guy named Barack Obama. But anyway, go ahead.
Now, this is a similar issue. This is not natural born citizenship, which is presidential eligibility. This is birthright citizenship. Do you become...
and that also is a chapter in that book, and I talk about it a lot.
Well, let's take a look at what we have here, and they are going to hear this case.
Okay.
They heard part of it last spring when they were basically the Solicitor General of the United States argued to the Supreme Court that these lower court judges are usurping their power, and the Supreme Court decision did a good job of backing off on that, but not altogether. Now they're going to hear the meat of the case.
Now, a question: did this case go through the lower courts first?
Some of them did, yeah. There was Washington State.
That's one in particular that you have on the screen.
Oh, I've got Barbara on the screen. Let me switch to a different one because that came out of here in New Hampshire.
Well, the reason why is anytime that you have a case in which a state is a party, Supreme Court has original jurisdiction. So just looking at the parties in this particular lawsuit, it should not have gone to the lower courts.
Well, there was they changed the parties as it made its way through. So where the case started is not where it ended up, and they basically.
In other words, they did like they did with the Obamacare case, where there was, in the case of the Obamacare case, there was like 3 different parties, and by the time it got to the Supreme Court, they merged them into one.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What we have here is the petition for a writ of certiorari by the Solicitor General of the United States, D. John Sauer, and he wrote a beautiful argument, and we're going to jump into that a little bit. And he says, the questions that are presented. The Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment provides that those born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are U.S. citizens. This is so important, the comma, because it means they're talking about 2 different things. Not only do you have to be born in the United States, but you also have to be subject to the jurisdiction thereof.
Yeah, subject to the jurisdiction thereof means allegiance, that you're not subject to any foreign power.
Yeah, and that's really what the argument's going to come down to, is what does that little short phrase mean? And it's a big deal.
Well, and the phrase comes from, not that I want to take away from the reading of this, but it comes from the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which actually went into law before this amendment was ratified, and the writers of that clause, Senator Trumbull and Senator Howard, were drawing from the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which says that if the children are not able to choose their own allegiance, so the children of persons subject to a foreign power are not citizens. That's right out of the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and that law has never been repealed, so it's still in force. And so then we ask, what the job of the president is what? To execute laws of the United States. So what law is he executing when it comes to the civil rights? When it comes to birthright citizenship, the Civil Rights Act of 1866. The language is clear. If the judges were all about the law and not about ideology, it'd be a clear-cut case, and Trump would win easily. But unfortunately, ideology often plays a part.
Well, you've given a high-level view of the Sowers arguments. He must have read your book because he agrees.
Very nice.
He says the U.S. Constitution Amendment 14, which is in 1868, the clause was adopted to confer citizenship on the newly freed slaves and their children,
right?
Not on the children of aliens temporarily visiting the United States or of illegal aliens. On January 20, 2025, first day back in office, he issued Executive Order 14160 called Protecting the Meaning and Value of American Citizenship, which restores the original meaning of the Citizenship Clause and provides on a prospective basis only that children of temporary visitors and illegal aliens are not U.S. citizens by birth. The Citizenship Order directs federal agencies not to issue or accept citizenship documents for such children born more than 30 days after the order's effective date. Now, that last sentence is important because he is the chief executive. His executive orders can direct federal agencies how to interpret the law.
Exactly. Well, how to carry out executing that law as well.
Very good. So this is 100% we talked about this. It was a constitutional executive order. We talked about that last year. Right?
So. Yes.
Okay, so let me go down here into some of the arguments. Talk about all the parties.
We've got about a minute left before we got to go to break.
All right, why don't you comment on the part we just did, and I'll get there.
Well, and it's interesting because basically what they're saying is that the birthright citizenship does apply in the sense that if you're born American soil and there's an allegiance, you're fine. But he's saying, if you're visiting, if you're an illegal alien, if you're temporarily here or you're not supposed to be here, your children being born here aren't automatically citizens. Why? Because the parents' allegiance is somewhere else, which kind of brings up now where my Kamala case actually applies to this. She's the daughter of two students temporarily here at the time. They had not applied for any immigration. And she was born on American soil to two visitors. She's not even a citizen. Let's go to break.
Sliced fresh sandwiches every day, made right before your eyes. The port of Sub's way could be a smoking number 5 or a classic number 8, or maybe an Italian is your number 1 fave. Whatever you crave, prepare to fall in love. Sliced fresh sandwiches, port of Subs.
The grilled chicken melt at Port of Subs will warm up your winter with savory grilled chicken and your favorite melty cheese on fresh-baked pepperoncini pepperjack bread, topped with all your favorite veggie toppings and sauces. Bundle up with savory Cool Ranch Doritos, a refreshing Sprite, and a classic chocolate chip cookie for a hearty meal that'll leave you feeling oh so satisfied. Available for a limited time at your neighborhood Port of Subs, or order at portofsubs.com or on our mobile app. Port of Subs, we're slicing up the quality you crave.
Whatever yummy number you're dreaming of, sliced fresh sandwiches, Port of Subs.
Barbecue, the Butcher's Kitchen, would like to thank every customer for your loyalty and continued support through these challenging times. Call for takeout and delivery of rib tips, brisket, ahi tuna, roasted veggies, and much more. Barbecue's open from 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and delivers hot food safe and healthy. Call 499-5855 for details. 499-5855 Barbecue, as featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Get real. Get into Barbecue Reno.
Can you define the 4 different parts of Medicare? Do you have Medicare prescription drug gap coverage? At Nevada Senior Advisors, we will walk through the different parts of Medicare, including Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, Part D prescription drug plans, to help you determine which option is right for you. Visit nvsenioradvisors.com, call 775-674-2223 to set up an appointment. Nevada Senior Advisors is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Federal Medicare Program or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
All right, we are back from the break. And before we jump back into our topic or topics, I just want to let everyone know that if you want to see some of the other work Doug and I have been doing on the Re-Federalist Report or this Re-Federalist Radio, you can find them all on my Rumble channel, which is go to Rumble in the search bar, type in war space hamster, Hamster. Too many people spell that with a P and it drives me nuts.
Let's also make a mention real quick. Our producer keeps reminding me of this, is that for you listeners in California, understand that Leo Zaki, ZakiRadio.com, this is what we're on. Leo Zaki is running for governor of California. Be sure to visit LeoZaki.com to learn more about his race.
Very good. All right, so let's get that screen share back up there, and we'll just go a little bit deeper into this argument. Probably going to do the next 3 paragraphs how to get us through this segment.
Okay.
So introduction, the citizen, and we're going to be a little bit repetitive, but it's worth doing this. The Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment was adopted to grant citizenship to newly freed slaves and their children, not to children of temporary visitors or illegal aliens. See these slaughterhouse cases, and he's going to quote some of these. They're very important because the slaughterhouse cases were in the 1870s, literally less than a decade after the 14th Amendment had been ratified. They knew the original intent. So
Right.
who are you going to believe, the Supreme Court justices of the time or people 50 years later that decided to reinterpret it because it fit their own political move? You probably want to go back to the original source. Some of the quotes here. The one pervading purpose of the amendment was the freedom of the slave race and the security and firm establishment of that freedom. It also says the main object of the opening sentence of the 14th Amendment was to settle the question as to the citizenship of freed slaves. That was Elk versus Wilkins. The clause put it beyond doubt that all blacks as well as whites born or naturalized within the jurisdiction of the United States are citizens of the United States. That's from Wong Kim Ark.
Now understand, Wong Kim Ark, this is the case that everybody wants to use to support birthright citizenship, but Wong Kim Ark was not given citizenship just because he was born in San Francisco. Because remember that, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is the second part. It needs to be satisfied. And in his case, because his parents could not become citizens, they were Chinese, and at the time, Chinese nationals did not have the right to become a citizen according to the law. They became permanent residents. They did what the next best thing. This showed an allegiance. This showed that they did not want to be subject to a foreign power. And this second thing that they did satisfied and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay, continue, please.
Thank you. The clause does not, however, grant citizenship to the children of temporary visitors or illegal aliens. The plain text of the clause, its original understanding and history, and this court's cases confirm that the clause extends to children who are completely subject to the political jurisdiction of the United States, meaning that they owe direct and immediate allegiance to the nation and may claim its protection. Boy, where have I heard that before, Doug?
Yeah, I've been saying it for 20 years. Go ahead.
I've probably heard you say that more than 100 times. And you've gotten it right every single time. As this court has recognized, children of citizens and those who have permanent domicile and residence in the United States meet that criteria.
Oh, here we go. Wong Kim Ark.
There you go. This court's earliest cases interpreting the 14th Amendment explicitly rejected the notion that anyone born in the United States territory, no matter the circumstances, is automatically a citizen, so long he is subject to U.S. law. Once again, slaughterhouse. Last paragraph worth doing. A substantial body of historical evidence confirms that the U.S. citizenship does not extend to the children of parents who were in itinerary, that's Latin for, I think, just being in the country, or abiding there for temporary purpose as for health or occasional business.
Itinerary basically means that you're here for something that's scheduled, but you're here temporarily. Anyway, continue.
Now, this next quote's from Joseph Story.
He got it right sometimes, got it wrong sometimes.
Yeah, he's Joseph Story was one of the probably most prominent or most, so to say, impactful Supreme Court justices of all time. He's on that Mount Rushmore. Not always in a good thing. He really expanded the power of the court beyond what the founding intent was. He was
a student of John Marshall, for one.
Yeah, he also wrote the law book that almost every law student reads from his teaching at Harvard Law. And So he has a huge influence, but he got this one right. On the conflict of laws, foreign and domestic, he writes, during congressional debate over the 14th Amendment, lawmakers agreed that the citizenship clause would not extend U.S. citizenship to a person who was born here of parents from abroad temporarily in this country. That's important because these are the guys who wrote the darn amendment.
Yeah, and I've referred to the Congressional Globe, particularly May of 1866. May 30th, 1866 is when Senator Howard lays it out. And they're using that exact argument. They're nailing it exactly right. Understand, when Warhamster and I are going through the the Madison's notes on the United States Constitutional Convention. And the reason we're doing it is because the best way to understand the context of what's there is to go back to those original debates, those original arguments. That's what this is for the 14th Amendment. These are the congressional records, the congressional debates over what they meant here. And this is beautiful because it's going back to original documents. Context is everything. What this idea of birthright citizenship as we understand it to be today, or if you're born American, so you're American citizen, there is no law. There is no constitutional provision. There is no court case anywhere that supports it. It is basically a lie that has been told so many times, everybody's convinced it's true.
There's a lot of those, but this particular edition of the Congressional Globe, which is a transcript of what happened in Congress that day, if you want to understand the biggest constitutional issues we're facing, this is the one you download and read and understand and learn, because 14th Amendment did a number of things. And another big one that we've talked about is the incorporation of the Bill of Rights. Did the 14th Amendment rewrite the Constitution and give the federal government power over the states that the Constitution never meant to? And the answer is no, they didn't say that. That wasn't what they were trying to do. It has been reinterpreted in the 20th century to do exactly that. And that's one of the things that we've got to get away from. And this is the issue of the Globe that gives you your best argument.
Yeah, and that's the debates I have with people all the time. Well, the 14th Amendment created this, and insert your language into the blank here, new Constitution, a new America, so on and so forth, new citizenship. And I say this all the time. The writing of the 14th Amendment is fine. It's the interpretation. But I believe that it may have been written ambiguously enough that interpretation could go into place. Because, I mean, we've got, and I'm blanking on his name now, the representative from Ohio, Chris, guy who wrote the Equal Protection Clause. But
oh, shoot. I just drew the blank too.
But anyway, he wanted the way they've interpreted it. He got shot down during congressional testimony. They disagreed with him, but that doesn't mean that push didn't continue. Slaughterhouse cases, good and bad interpretation came out of that. And once the slaughterhouse cases were over, that's when they really started reinterpreting the 14th Amendment. And what we have is a bad interpretation of a pretty good amendment. Anyway, go ahead.
After the amendment's adoption, secretaries of state denied passports to children born of foreigners who were temporarily present in the United States. And what they also did, the practice was if when you got issued your birth certificate, if you were not born to American parents, they would say a non-citizen birth certificate. They would actually indicate that on the birth certificate. That was a law in practice for a long time.
And let's go back to the 14th Amendment citizenship clause for a sec, because that and subject to a jurisdiction thereof is so important. When someone first gives their oath to the United States, and I'm sure all of you have heard this before, what must the new American do? Renounce their foreign citizenship. Why? Because it needs to satisfy and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. No allegiance to a foreign power. Not be subject to a foreign power. That's what it's all about here. That's what the problem with birthright citizenship is. It's about whether or not there is allegiance or a person is subject to any foreign power. That's what it's all about. That's what it all comes down to. Please continue.
And commentators uniformly acknowledge that the clause excludes the children of foreigners transiently within the United States. From Alexander Porter Morse, A Treaty on Citizenship, 1881. I think that's all we're going to read. We're going to come up on a break in a few minutes, but let's really sum up why this is so important. I'm going to go ahead and take that off the screen. And also what it's not asking for. He's not asking the Supreme Court to make this retroactive. I think that'll come if the Supreme Court gets this case right, because it makes perfect sense. Well, if you've been cheating the system the whole time, and the humane way of rolling that back would be do it gradually. You've got a certain time period to extricate yourself from the country. It's a very, very, hard decision to make, because a lot of people who became U.S. citizens because of their bad interpretation of this have been wonderful American citizens ever since. There's a lot of great people. We're not saying they're all criminal, illegal aliens,
Right.
but we have to follow the rules, because otherwise you get what we have today with the open border after 4 years of Biden's open border policy and everything that happened after Reagan's amnesty. And the United States stopped looking like the United States because you have people who come here that don't share our values. And that's really what it comes down to.
And, the word republic comes from res publica in Latin. And what it means is the public thing. And more specifically, the rule of law, the public rule of law. And if we abandon the rule of law, and we begin, this is a saying I've said so many times, he'll probably say he's heard this a number of times too. If we abandon the rule of law, what's right, what's in our law, what is constitution, what is originally intended, and we began following the rule of man and these interpretations, then it doesn't take very long before we start dancing around a golden calf.
Yeah, very much so. Now, I think this current Supreme Court is very likely to get this one correct. It should not be a political question. It should be one of actual de facto constitutional law. And then if they interpret it based on that, they will get it right. And we might have the right mix of judges, especially with Amy Coney Barrett somehow turning over a leaf and becoming a very consistent, solid vote in the last year.
And as our break lingers about 20 seconds away, once again, let's be reminded, Leo Zaki is running for governor of California, leozaki.com, leozaki.com. Learn more about it.
Leo's kind enough to give us this radio slot. And, my business partner is working with the campaign. And we very much appreciate that. And Leo's a great guy as well.
Yeah, ZakiRadio.com for the shows. leozaki.com for Leo Zaki himself, Leo Zaki for governor. And it's an interesting race. There's a lot of interesting names in there. He's one of the good ones.
We'll talk about that after the break.
In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
Hey, all you entrepreneurs out there. Whether you have a small business or work from home, LaRue Press offers a virtual office and business address for all your business needs. Located at 280 Gregg Street, Suite 10, LaRue Press is your personal assistant for friendly all-day service. Need a conference room to meet with clients? You got it. With LaRue Press, you also get phone answering service, mail forwarding, package pickup, and even help branding your business. Call LaRue Press at 849-3814 or go online to lrpnv.com.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
All right, we are here for our final segment of today's show. A lot of good stuff we've covered so far. It's funny when you get ready for the show, when I'm getting ready to prep and what the topics are going to be. Let's go ahead and put the screen share up there. There is a website I can go to that gives us automatic content, and it is called SCOTUSblog.com. SCOTUS, of course, is Supreme Court of the United States.com. You can always find topics that Doug and I will want to talk about. The writers there they try to do a pretty neutral and balanced job in their commentary. So I enjoy the site. It's worth checking out. But there's a fun one that came up yesterday called the Trump Docket. And what they're going to talk about is, obviously, Donald Trump is a very impactful president, especially in his second term. And there have been an awful lot of lawsuits trying to slow down, his agenda. And we got a lot of those cases, and they're very important from a constitutional standpoint. So I just want to jump into this article and just have Doug give some comments as we go. As the Supreme Court has begun its new term, which by law starts on the first Monday of October, there is a strong sense that this is going to be a term dominated by cases involving the actions of President Donald Trump. It might be the fact that we already know what's on the docket, so it's not a brilliant insight there. I've been teaching constitutional law and thus have closely followed the Supreme Court for over 45 years, but never have I had a sense at the beginning of a term that it will be so momentous in deciding the future of American democracy. What's wrong with that sentence, Doug?
Oh, there's a whole list of things. Let's start with the last word, democracy. We were designed to be a republic, a federal republic. The other thing is these courts having such momentous influence. It's funny because I've read this thing. I know this thing cover to cover in ways that very few people, if anybody, does. And there's not a single line in there that gives the courts the authority to strike down executive actions or executive orders, nor to micromanage any of the other branches. In fact, the Constitution gives the authority to the opposite. The word vested appearing in each of the first three articles when it comes to creating the three branches of government. I said four. It's kind of interesting because sometimes I feel like there's four branches. That's beside the point. Not talking about the deep state administrative bureaucracy. But the courts have no authority whatsoever. And so I'm fascinated now what you got to go with the rest of this guy between democracy and the courts having this type of authority, not in the Constitution.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that. I'm going to read this next paragraph, and I'm going to tie it back to the birthright citizenship case.
Okay.
So it says, to be sure, cases involving Trump have been important on the court's docket before. In his first term as president, as there were challenges to his policies, such as revoking the DACA, Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, and trying to change the census questionnaire to ask about citizenship. They got that one wrong. It ties to birthright citizenship. Why are they fighting this so hard? Because one of the things that Democrats have been doing over the last several decades is flooding illegals into their blue states and cities to give them greater representation both in Congress and in the presidential vote.
And it's interesting. This is a relatively, in the grand scheme of things, relatively new position. When you go to the 80s and the early 90s and even the mid 90s, they were arguing against illegal immigration. They were arguing against allowing, not deporting these illegal aliens. Why? Because they were trying to appease the loudest voice in their group of supporters, the unions. So unions did not like illegal immigration because it challenged their union members who were trying to hold their jobs. Now it's all flipped. The same politicians that used to say they were against illegal immigration now support an open border. Why? Because it's become their latest scheme. Because they've realized supporting the unions versus getting more voters is more effective.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous to count illegal aliens in a census that is being used to determine how many votes are apportioned to each state.
Yeah, and you're talking about the House of Representatives. If you go to the Constitution, where it talks about that, it says, except Indians not taxed. Indians not taxed were not to be counted. Why? They're in the United States. They're born on the American soil, but they were not subject to the jurisdiction thereof. They were subject to a foreign power. They're tribes. That's why they were being exempt. The correlation between illegal aliens and aliens not taxed is obvious.
Yeah, very much so. It's a big deal. They also just found, we kind of knew this already, but they had another thing issued just this week that there were 16 states that had their populations either undercounted or overcounted in the 2020 census.
Mm-hmm.
8 Republicans were undercounted. I would say red states were undercounted and 8 blue states were overcounted. And that basically completely would change the makeup of Congress. And there's a few other things going on that could really shift the power.
It's funny. You flip 2 things in that one sentence, and it totally changes everything. You flip where the illegal aliens are not counted, and you flip us from a democracy to a republic. Get back to some of the Republican mechanisms. Everything is different.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Just want to read another paragraph because it has to do with what we just talked about. In 2024, the majority of Texas versus United States, the court held that the president has broad immunity from criminal prosecutions. That's when they tried to basically say the president had no immunity when they were using lawfare to try to jail Trump and everyone around him. And yet now James Comey appears today. Apparently he's going to get a slap on the wrist, but Trump is basically the authoritarian. So good luck with that argument.
Yeah, and understand this, in this age of lawfare, if you were to take the times that a president has been gone after by the courts, by the opposing party courts, Bush, Obama, and Biden, and you put them all together, Trump has been prosecuted against more than all of them combined. And then some.
Well, that's because they feared him being in office because he's doing exactly what he said he was going to do. And last term, the court in Trump versus CASA ruled that federal courts cannot issue nationwide injunctions against presidential actions. That was the case where birthright citizenship was sort of on the docket, but what the Solicitor General argued was more about the nationwide injunctions. All right, so let's look at
universal injunctions were shot down, yet they are right now defying that Supreme Court case still. So the question is, because it's traditional that the lower courts respect the higher court's rulings, and the Democrats and the left and those in the establishment, Republicans, the rhinos, and everybody has always believed that. But suddenly it doesn't matter. It's interesting. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, the problem with that is the Supreme Court in that Trump versus CASA case gave the lower courts an out and basically said, well, you can, if it's a class action suit. So now they're just trying to make everything a class action. And so you do get to rule. That's going to have to be ruled on again very soon. But that's really what their out was. There was the wording in the decision.
Yeah, one wonders if that was a compromise among some of those justices. One wonders.
So let's look at some of the cases that are going to matter. Removal power is the Humphreys executor versus United States. The Supreme Court unanimously upheld a federal law that prevented the president from firing commissioners of the FTC unless there was a good cause for removal. Trump has been explicit that he believes Humphrey's executor was wrongly decided, and he will not comply with federal statutes that respect his ability to remove agency heads.
Respect his ability.
What did I say?
Respect.
No.
That's okay.
You got to forgive me. I've got these, I just got Invisaligners in my teeth, and it's harder to talk. I should probably take them out. I haven't gotten used to them yet.
So real quick on this, let me say something real quick. So at the beginning of Article 2, it says that the executive power shall be vested in the President of the United States. That means the executive power, in other words, head of the executive branch, which exists because of his executive power, belongs to the president. If he is the head honcho over the executive branch that exists for the purpose of the president executing the laws of the United States, he has every authority to hire, fire, restructure, change the pay schedule. It's his branch. Go ahead.
Yeah, his argument is what's known as the unitary executive, which gives the president the power to fire anyone in the executive branch, as Doug just said.
Constitution. He's supporting the Constitution. This is the most constitutional president we've had since John Tyler.
Yeah, we did a great show on Tyler, which I titled, "Is John Tyler the most constitutional president in history?" And he just might have been. And
Yes.
If you're asking yourself, who is John Tyler? He's worth looking up. And if you go to Rumble and do a search for John Tyler and War Hamster, you'll find that show that Doug and I did last year about him.
And this is a guy with constitutional principles. He stuck to his principles so tightly that his own party threw him out, and he was good with it because the Constitution was more important.
Okay. The unitary executive was decisively overruled in 1988, the Rehnquist Court. However, our author writes, now it appears that a majority of the current court accepts the unitary executive theory. 3 times in recent months, in cases on its emergency docket, Trump versus Wilcox, Trump versus Boyle, and Trump versus Slaughter. God, this president gets sued a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The 6 conservative justices, apparently, have issued stays of federal district court decisions preventing Trump from removing agency heads. It has done so with little explanation and over forceful dissenting opinions by Justice Elena Kagan.
I don't know if I like the conservative justices label. We have one originalist, 2 textualists, and a bunch of, well, we'll see ists, but
yeah, I agree with that very much. And there is a difference between a textualist and an originalist. Original
Absolutely.
goes back to the original intent, and instead of say, hey, this is what the words say, I wonder how I can interpret that to fit my political agenda.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd say Alito is the only pure originalist, and as much as I love Clarence Thomas, I think he leans more towards textualist.
You think they're going to get this one right? I do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that'll make and by the way, what did we see? Like 120 of Trump's nominees all got confirmed with a single vote by the Senate, finally, 9 months later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they may have been able to delay him implementing his agenda to some degree, but they're not going to be able to stymie it altogether. And they're not going to.
And with less than a minute left.
Yeah, Doug, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you?
DouglasVGibbs.com. Been some tweaks going on. We'll get it straightened out. You can also go to navigation2liberty.com. That's navigation, the number 2, liberty.com. And I'm on all over the radio, the podcast world, vidcast, just at navigation2liberty.com. The whole list is there. Go ahead, sir.
We're going to take
15 seconds. You got 15 seconds.
All right, everybody. Well, this was a fun show. Enjoyed doing it, Doug, and good topics. I hope everyone enjoyed it. And everybody, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, cheers.